Hello, my dear friends. I'm Dr. Wasim I Khan, Assistant Professor, Shri Shivaji Law College, Parbhani, Maharashtra, India. So, in today's lecture, we will try to cover another important topic of criminology and penology, that is characteristics and elements of crime. So, we will discuss all the concept in this lecture. So, let's start the topic. So we are discussing the characteristics of and elements of crime. We will discuss first of all the characteristics of crime, because we have already discussed in the previous lecture the introduction, meaning, nature and scope of criminology. Now we will move towards the characteristics and elements of crime. So in the characteristics of crime, harm should have been caused. Mere intention is not enough. So to constitute any act as a crime or as an offense, the mere intention is not enough at all. There should be a certain harm caused to the victim or to the person. Suppose if I am having an intention to hurt any person, but there is no harm to that particular person, only I am thinking about that particular thing, then I will not be liable for the crime. So only intention is not enough, but there should be a certain kind of harm to the victim. Then the harm must be legally forbidden. Antisocial behavior is no crime unless prohibited by law. So the harm must be legally forbidden. It means whatever the act by which the harm caused to any person, that act must be forbidden by a law. If that any act which is antisocial but it is not forbidden by the law, then it will not be a crime. Suppose if Indian Penal Code says that if any person moves a movable property out of the possession of any person with an dishonest intention without his consent, then it will comes under the category, under the definition of theft. So suppose if I have if I moved any movable property out of the possession of any person without his consent with a dishonest intention, so this act is forbidden by the law, then this will be called as a crime and I will be liable for the offense of theft. But antisocial behavior which is not prohibited by law will not come under the category of crime. So antisocial behavior may be, suppose if my neighbor is there and if he is suffering from starvation, and it is my duty, moral duty, to feed that particular neighbor, but suppose if I fails to feed my neighbor, my act will not come under the category of crime. It may be antisocial behavior, but it is not a crime. So the act must be legally forbidden. This is also one of the characteristics of crime. Next one is there must be conduct which brings harmful result. So the harmful result must be associated with the conduct of a person. That is also one of the characteristics of crime. Next one is mens rea or criminal intent must be present. So to constitute any person's act as a crime, there must be a criminal intent, there must be a mens rea. If there is no criminal intent, if the person does any act in good faith, then he will not be liable for the crime unless and until there is a criminal intent behind the commission of that act. So if any person dishonestly moves a property out of the possession of owner, he will be liable for the offense of theft, because the intention is dishonest one. Criminal intent is there, mens rea is there. If there is no mens rea, if he moves that property in good faith, then the criminal intent is absent, he will not be liable for the crime. So to constitute any act as a crime, there must be a criminal intent, there must be a mens rea. Next one is the harm caused must be a natural consequences of a voluntary act. So whatever the harm caused to the victim, that harm must be a natural consequences of a voluntary act of a person. Suppose if does any act and the harm must be a natural consequences of my act. So that is a characteristics. Next one is there must be legally prescribed punishment. So whatever the act I does due to which the victim suffers any harm, then for that particular act there must be a punishment. So for example, as we have already discussed, suppose if I move a movable property out of the possession of owner without his consent with a dishonest intention, then definitely this act will comes under the category of theft, and theft is defined under section 378 of Indian Penal Code, and the same is punishable under section 379. So there must be a legally prescribed punishment. So to constitute any act as a crime, for that act there must be a legally prescribed punishment. So that is also one of the characteristics of crime. Now we will move towards the elements of crime. The first element of crime is a human being. So wrongful act must be committed by a human being. So who can be a subject matter of crime? Who can commit a crime? So to constitute any act as a crime, the act must be committed by a human being. Wrongful act must be committed by a human being. Suppose if the human being commits any wrongful act, then only it will be a crime. Any non-living things or animal are not considered in the category of human beings. So animals are not considered in the category of human beings. Suppose if any animal does any act due to which the harm caused to any person, then it will not come under the category of crime. It means the animal cannot be punished. Only human being can be punished for the crime. So in the ancient time, there may be a few references wherein animals were held liable and were punished for crime. Animals were held liable in the ancient time and they were punished, but in the recent time animals are not subject for punishment. For the wrongful act must be committed by a human being. This is one of the element of a crime. The second one is the physical act or actus reus. So the actus reus is a physical action that a person must take in order to be responsible for criminal act. So actus reus is a physical action. The person must act upon his intention, then only he will be responsible for the criminal act, otherwise not. Suppose mere intention, mere thinking about the commission of any act, this will not come under the category of crime. There must be a certain physical act, actus reus must be there, then only it will be a crime, otherwise not. Person can commit offense even by omitting to do certain act which he has to do. Sometimes the person is having a duty to do something, and if he omits to do that particular thing, this omission will also comes under the category of actus reus and he may be liable for the punishment. The first example of actus reus is voluntary action. In this particular image, the person is pointing a gun towards another person and is shooting that person. This is a voluntary action and it will comes under the category of actus reus. Next one is the physical act, actus reus. Next example is that complete acts versus thought and attempts. Complete act. Suppose if I attack on any person due to which the harm caused to that particular person, this is called a complete act and it will come under the category of actus reus and I will be punished accordingly because it is one of the elements of crime. But suppose if mere thought, if I am thinking about to commit an offense, I will not be liable because in this particular situation actus reus is missing. Until and unless there is a certain physical action, I will not be held responsible for that. Now I am mere thinking about the commission of offense. I have done nothing. So there is absence of actus reus. I will not be liable for the offense of any offense. Next example is omission as an act. Sometimes omission to do a certain act will also comes under the category of actus reus. Suppose if I am having a taxable income, so being a public servant, I am earning something, I am having a taxable income, it is my duty to pay the tax. But suppose if I evade the tax, if I omit to pay the tax, then I will be liable for the penalty, punishment. So in this particular category, my omission to pay the tax will comes under the category of actus reus. Next one is wrong words as an act. Sometimes there is no need of a physical action. Sometimes the words of a person will comes under the category of actus reus. In this particular example, it is says that A is thief. These words may comes under the category of actus reus. There is no physical action, but sometimes the words also comes under the category of actus reus. Next one is possession as acts. In this particular image, possession as an acts. Sometimes the person is having a possession of drugs. Then mere possessing the drugs will comes under the category of actus reus. He does nothing. There is no physical action, but mere possession of drugs, this is forbidden by the law, and that's why possession comes under the category of actus reus. Suppose if any person is possessing an article of theft which is being used in the offense of theft. In this particular image, hammer and rope, these are the object which was being used in the commission of theft. If these objects found in the possession of any person, then mere possession of that particular thing will comes under the category of actus reus. Third element of crime is a mental state or mens rea. Mens rea is the mental state that a person has at the time that he or she performs the acts that constitute the commission of crime. Whatever the mental status at the time of committing the offense, that particular thing comes under the category of mens rea. So this element is based on the maxim actus non facit reum nisi mensit rea. There can be no crime without an evil mind. If there is no evil mind, there is no crime. If there is no mens rea, there is no crime. If there is no evil intention, there is no crime. So the person's act will not come under the category of crime until and unless that act is associated with the criminal intention, with the mens rea. So to constitute the act of any person as a crime, there must be a mens rea, there must be a guilty mind, evil mind. Motive is there, sometimes the motive is there. So motive will also comes under the category of, it is one of the part and parcel of the mens rea, but motive may be good or bad, or intention is always bad. Sometimes one person commits an offense of theft and he has committed a theft against the huge amount of property, and one person on the other hand has committed the offense of theft and he has moved the property, that is a piece of bread, because he was suffering from starvation. So in these two circumstances, the motive, the intention was to commit the offense of theft. Intention was to commit the offense of theft, but the motive is different. In one case, the motive is to acquire a huge amount of property, and on the another case, the motive is only to feed himself, to satisfy his hunger. So in this particular situation, Indian code used to consider the motive while punishing the offender. So motive may be good or bad, but intention is always bad. So this is the element of crime. Injury is another concept. The injury should be illegally caused to any person in body, mind, reputation or property as according to section 44 of IPC. Section 44 of Indian Penal Code defines the term injury, and the injury may be caused to the body, to the mind, to the reputation or property. So all these types of injury must be there to constitute the offense. I hope you understand this topic. Here we conclude the characteristics and elements of crime. I hope you understand this topic. If you understand the topic, please subscribe my channel, hit the notification button, hit the like button and share this video with your friends. Thank you. Thank you very much.